So this morning's job is to repair the rear end of this Model A. Now, obviously my car was bought by me ready for paint, and that is the quality of the restoration that the guy did on it. And it's like that, unfortunately, both sides. We've gone out and we've bought some new patch panels. Now, these are the licensed Ford ones, which in theory you would believe would be good quality corner patches. However, theory and reality are two different things. So we've kind of had a look at the stamp press marks on them, and they're basically pressed in the right place, but it's immediately obvious that this lip is too short, it needs to go further out, and this lip should have a fold in it, and it obviously hasn't. So we can show that by just chucking the patch panel on where it's supposed to be, and you can probably see that that obviously should lip around there. On my Model A, this line is different to the one on this side. Now, I believe that they do differ, like just because of quality back in 1930s. I could be wrong, I could have had some repair work, but although the patch panels are exactly the same, one side will go in perfectly, and the other side, this side, either needs some material put into the patch panel to extend it out to meet the two lines, or what I'm going to do is probably relief cut it and just bring that side in very slightly. I just want to make sure I can get the patch panel A to actually fit properly. So this bit here, there's an offending bit at the very bottom where you may be able to see, and that's preventing kind of this sliding down a bit further, which is this section here that I mentioned. So I'm going to give that a tap. I'm going to try and finesse this with a soft hammer. So copper-ended hammer. I'm just going to try and tap that up a little bit. Now, I do know people cut this lip off entirely and weld it in the right place. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going for a show car finish. I just want it to fit relatively well, because I don't mind a small gap down here, but obviously I don't want a horrendous one. So we're going to do some markings of where it's touching with a Sharpie, and then I'm going to get to just trying to finesse the steel a little bit. So you'll be able to see that that fits already a ton better. The only problem with that is that this bit just needs cleaning back a little bit, because that's obviously sat completely on this panel, and the fact that the panel doesn't fully bend all the way around. So I may need to put this in the shrink stretcher and just shrink it a little bit, and just try and pull this bit in. I'm going to smash this in with a TIG welder. So this side's done. Just roughly chop this panel in, because I've cut the inner arch out at the same time, so obviously everything's a bit floppy, but once it's kind of pushed where it needs to be, squares up nicely. So one corner down, the other one to go, same process, but hopefully it's easier that side. Like the other side where I needed to relief cut up here, this side I needed to relief cut the bottom bit. So this gap on this side was a lot bigger than it should have been, to match up with this. It should go in quite nicely. So let's get welding. Well, they're gone. We've got new patch repair panels in. They need a little bit of finessing down the edge, but we're going to move on to that a bit later. So these sections were the sections that originally fitted kind of in both sides here, but they were a lot bigger. I've cut the edge off and again, removed a load of unneeded bits from them, simply so I can sit them further back. Because the guy that's done the top, obviously the new panel is in here, but you can see the top as it goes up. The guy that's done whatever he's done there has basically mullered all of these bits of metal. So my kind of plan is going to be, I'm going to cut this lip completely off. I'm going to weld this in because this is a good angle for the rear. And we're going to TIG weld this straight to this, which will not only stiffen up this section and give it the correct curve, it will then allow me to start working on some kind of rear floor section. Panels are done. I've welded in some inners as well because I'm fabricating a different kind of rear end. I'm going from a rumble seat to a boot setup, but I also want to have twin exhausts that come out kind of in this panel and a bit wider. So yeah, the whole rear end on mine is going to be completely different. But I'm happy with those. Job's a good one. Just roughly put this up so I can tack a bar in, because at the minute obviously you can see I've got no wheel arches or inner fenders anywhere. And it's all just a bit wibbly wobbly, so gonna whack some braces in, kind of go from there.
1 minute 37 seconds later.
So chucked a support brace in for the time being, and this section, which usually would go on here, is being thrown out because that is for a rumble seat, so it doesn't have a return edge on there to stop water going in if I was to put a trunk on it or a boot, whatever you want to call it. So that is no good for what I'm doing. And instead of buying a piece, I've gone over to a company I used to work for, really nice guys, Retro Power and Hinkley. They've allowed me to use some of their tooling, mainly a big sheet bender because my bender's really small. It's like ½ a metre I think, whereas theirs is a full like 4-foot bender. So we've done this, chucked a swage line in to match the bodywork swage, and this panel needs to lift up very slightly, but that will go in there. But I also need to obviously bend it this way to obviously follow the curve of the car. So it's flat at the minute, but it will be bent. And then for the lower section, normally the Model A sits here like that. That is a very kind of final section. However, I've made one that is pretty much nearly 3 times the depth, as you can see. And again, this is going to need bending round. But this is going to sit on here as basically a lower roll pan. And I'm going to pass 2 3-inch exhausts through it. And then I've got to make a decision of whether I'm going to dimple dye it. But that's basically what's coming on in the next video. I'm going to try and sort this end out a little bit. Just so then I can plan on where I'm going to make the frame from the interior of the car backwards. So We're going to peace out for now. See you on the next video once this back end's looking a bit more sexier. And then hopefully we're going to attach it to the rest. Bye bye, folks.